Welcome to Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Being a fireman, father, veteran, husband, world record holder, and Ironman, he brings stories of experience to impact your life while challenging you to live it. What do you want from your life? Why do you want it? Are you willing to go through the challenges to get there? If you have the courage to take that first step, let this podcast be the catalyst to start your fire while you bring the resilience to make it continue to burn. Our lives are made up of moments called right nows. So let's get started. Forged in the Fires podcast with your host, Fireman Rob, begins now.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today's guest is the man when talking about coaching. Through the storms, when talking about mindset, the subconscious mindset. We were talking before we got on, and he said, if I knew my journey, I might have messed it up. That, I think everybody can relate to that. He's been on many things. He's been featured on Fox, on NBC, CBS, a lot of different things. Let's get into this conversation. It's great to have you on the show today. The man, the myth, the legend, Joey. It's so great to have you on today.
Oh, it's great to be here with you. That was awesome.
In the last name, Drolshagen.
Drolshagen.
What is it?
Drolshagen.
See, I've heard. I listened to so many different podcasts, and I was like, everybody said it differently. It was great.
Yeah, and you think of the challenges of doing what we do, and you think of the challenges of building your, we all want our name to be a household name, right? So Why wouldn't it be Drolshagen rather than Smith that I'd be starting with? Exactly.
You might as well. That's why I went with Fireman Rob. It's one of those things.
You should
just be the man Joey. That we're going to recoin that. Well, you know what? It's so great to have you on. I mean, your life story, what you do, the things that you're transforming in people's lives. And I have to say, my favorite part is the IFGT life coaching. What does IFGT stand for? I know what it stands for, but I want you to say it.
I know you do, Rob. It's the name of it is It's Freaking Go Time.
I love that.
And that's exactly, man, I'm tenacious in helping people, helping organizations to really change their life and change their experiences and getting the most out of their time here on this planet.
And your whole life, like we were talking about before, your journey wasn't really that straightforward. Like, hey, I'm going to go from point A to point B. It's not like a GPS. It was more like the triptych where you had to figure out what the next thing was by going to the next page. How did that journey proceed for you from the time when you talk about it, from you going from climbing the corporate ladder to being a pilot to being a builder? How did that journey transform you to right now where you're transforming lives? Yeah.
And like I was telling you up front, before we jumped on here live is I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed at the journey, the way it's unfolded. And I had no idea where I was being led through life as I was going on all these different avenues and everything. And that's what I said is if I would have known, I would have loused it up. I would have tried to perfect it or make it better or something like that, and I'd have messed the whole thing up. So I grew up in a very, very low-income, blue-collar family outside Detroit, Michigan. My mom and dad stayed married until death did them part, and I have 4 siblings, and I saw them struggle my entire youth. And I'll tell you, Rob, when I was young, for a long time in my life, I thought that my whole life was intended to be mediocre. I wasn't in school through my whole life, everything else, my self-esteem matched that and everything. And so part of my conditioning, and that's all the works I do is subconscious conditioning. Part of my conditioning from the time I was a kid was that a man gets a job, supports a family, hopefully lives long enough to enjoy some retirement. And I bought into that hook, line, and sinker because I thought that I took that on as my truth. And so I got into corporate America in my 20s while I ran a construction company and built houses while I did these other things and such. Later on, I'd get my pilot's license. And at 22 years old, I heard a speaker. His name was Jack Boland. Okay. And he stood up on the platform and he spoke. And it was probably the first time I really saw somebody live speaking like that on inspiration and motivation. And honestly, I don't know what the heck he said. But I
it doesn't
remember
matter.
how it lit this flame in my internal love and in my soul that I wanted to spend. And I knew in that moment I wanted to spend my life inspiring, motivating, and leading people to live better lives. But at the same time, when I looked at my life, I was like, well, how the heck are you going to do this? Like, you're not even doing it in your own life. I'm carrying those struggles and things like that into it. Right. And so I became a student of the works I do today. And at the same time, I built a career. I started out in construction and then got into corporate America. And I ended up building a career up to a vice president of sales, helping organizations that were in bankruptcy to get back into profitability and doing so in record times. I built world-class, like high-level territories from scratch. And I did things like that. But I never took it as successes because I was at that point of thinking my existence is mediocre. And so I lived a long time through that. And through the process, I never wanted to be in corporate America. Again, from the time I was 22, I wanted to do this, inspire, motivate, and lead people to live better lives. And so as I learned more about that, I would try things like The Secret and positive thinking and trying to positive think my way into the life I wanted. And it didn't work. And I crashed, and one thing after another, until I started looking into the subconscious mindset. And when I did that, doors started opening. All of a sudden, I could start seeing opportunities that before I thought were higher than what was available to me. I could see potential impacts I could have where before I wouldn't be able to. And what it did is it unlocked that knowledge within me of that conditioning, the patterns and the paradigms that are running on autopilot in the background of my subconscious. And then I learned how to go in there and transform that into shifting that conditioning, putting replacement conditioning in place of it. When I did that, oh my God, the world opened up. The things like The Secret, law of attraction, universal principles, all of that stuff just started boom, 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 and banging. And within 2 months of learning that, I created IFGT Life Coaching. And within 6 months, 4 more months of that, I was able to resign as a vice president of sales from corporate America, move to the mountains down here in South Carolina, and just build and impact lives ever since. And man, it's been one hell of a journey.
I love that. And it's so funny because like you'll hear stories like yours, and people are always, I can't do that. But realistically, it's them telling themselves in their mind that, that's not possible because I've never done that. Or I don't think that's possible. How did your mindset? I love one of the quotes you have. It says, "Some people live 90 years, other people live one day 90 times, and just keep repeating their same habits
over and over." Yeah.
It is that, it's that mindset, right? Of, I'm just supposed to do this. What does that switch feel like when you had that switch of like, I don't have to be that kid from Detroit that didn't feel like he had anything more than mediocre in him?
Oh my God, it's like I'm getting goosebumps as you're asking me that because it's freaking. It's scary. It's scary. It's stepping into all new territory and all new ground, which is why a lot of people choose to repeat their life that 1 year, 90 different times, because we have to step outside of our comfort zone and do uncommon things to get uncommon results and all of that. So it is scary. It was scary as hell doing that. When I resigned from corporate America, as excited as I was, and I'm in my 50s. I started out at 22. There's a long gap there, which explains why the name of my company is It's Freaking Go Time. Like it could be. It's about freaking go time.
It's about freaking. That's way too many letters.
Right. But yeah, it's scary doing that. And that's what I love about what I get to do, because I help people take the fear out of that and the way we go about the process. Now, when I went through it, it took me a year and a half to get through one little area that my clients now get through in weeks, And so in going through that process, it was really scary. And I didn't know what was on the other side. I wasn't guaranteed to be in the situation I'm in now. Like none of us are. So stepping out like that, it sounds brave. It sounds courageous. It sounds John Wayne-ish. It sounds all that stuff. It sounds like a fireman. It sounds like all that stuff, but it's really scary. Because your life and the life of those that depend on us rely on that.
Right. What is that, like that fear, like that drives most people in their lives to, sometimes it drives people to be successful. More than likely, I'd say more than likely, it drives people to be less than what their opportunity is, less than what their potential is.
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead.
What I would say to that, Rob, is really, I wouldn't attribute fear to being what drives us forward. I would attribute pain of staying where we're at so long we just can't stand living like that anymore. The pain is a motivator.
I love that.
Fear is based on our conditioning, our patterns, our paradigms. It's based on the things that we believe, the things we've been taught, our past experiences where things didn't work out. All of that stuff is the fear. And what happens for most people is that fear stops them from stepping into something that could be world changing before it ever even has a chance of putting effort into it.
Wow. That's so powerful, because when I think of fear, and there's a lot of things like, everybody today is finally talking about mental health. And, when you talk about the subconscious mind and everything that kind of throws those hurdles in, throws those big walls in your way, what is that defining difference when somebody's dealing with not just a job frame, a mindset that's keeping them from that, but what is that ability to utilize what you have to get through those fears that I may not ever be normal? That's a hard one, right? But it's, it
is. Yeah. And, one of the things it reminds me of is a quote by Marianne Williamson. I don't know if you're familiar with her and stuff, but, and I don't ever say it the exact same way, but the way I say it makes sense to me. So, as she said, it's not powerless that we're afraid of. We're not afraid of being powerless.
Right.
Our real fear is how powerful we really are.
Wow.
And think about that. If you have somebody who wants to start their own business, or they want to do something outside of what the norm is for them to do today, they have to recognize that powerfulness within them in order to do it. But most times, a lot of people, let me say it this way, a lot of people will tend to fall into that powerless. They'll start seeing their circumstances, situations, conditions surrounding them and what they want to do as being more powerful than what they have inside of them to achieve what they want to achieve. So they back off from there.
Right.
Or they live through their conditioning in millions of different ways. One of the big ones is somebody will try to do something. It won't be working out the way they want, so they'll try harder and they'll put more hours. And then they'll try harder and harder, and they're putting exhaustive effort and extensive hours into taking massive actions, trying to make happen what they want to have happen, just like that fly on the window pane that's trying to get outside.
Right.
I have a slide in one of my workshops that I use it to illustrate that. And then later on in the presentation, I'll bring up the same slide, except I've circled at the bottom the window's open by 2 inches. So if the fly would have slowed down, it could have just flown away easily to safety, but instead it ended up dead on the windowsill of exhaustion. And that's what happens to so many people's desires for what they want to achieve in their life, is they work it to death, and they only do that because they think they're doing the right thing, because it's conditioned into us that that's what you have to do to achieve.
Right. I was writing down everything, so that's why it took me a second. It's so valuable in life, and I mean that's why I love being able to do podcasts, because it's so valuable in life to take things from each other people's life experiences, or take things from other people's abilities. What are some of the things that you hear from when people take your subconscious mindset training? What are some of the little things that you hear that people go, oh, I never thought of that?
Yeah, I am. And I know what you mean by little things, but none of them are little.
Right.
Little on the scope. When somebody says, I had no idea I was capable of that. Man, I'll tell you, I get goosebumps. I cry when I'm after I talk to some of my clients, because it's bigger than what I knew the vision was going to be back when I had at 22. The impact in people's lives and how quickly things turn around for people and stuff. And I'm telling you, it can be a business, somebody building their business. It can be somebody stepping away from corporate into what they truly desire to do, relationships, health, even health and well-being. We have so much power within us to heal so many of our aches and pains and things like that. But we're conditioned that we need medication. I had to go to a checkup with my doctor today, and I was sitting in there, and there's this big plaque on the thing. And it said, if you don't get this so-and-so, you could, that could be a grave decision for you. And all these big things about why you have to have this and everything else. And that's what we're conditioned with, that we have to have something outside of ourselves in order to achieve, in order to be healthy, in order to be good, in order to enjoy life. And it's bullshit. Excuse my language, but it is.
No, that's the exact response that I wanted.
There are times, I'm a type 1. I have sugar issues, and they say it's type 1 diabetes. So I have to take insulin because my body doesn't produce it, but it's a natural hormone that your body typically produces. So I have to have insulin because my body's not producing it. Okay.
Right.
So I have to take that, but eating healthy and exercising and doing all those things to keep my sugar in check, so I'm not, going up and crazy with the scale of my blood sugar levels and stuff. That's within my power.
Right.
There's so few things that we have to take outside things for and understand. And I'm telling you, when you talk about the subconscious conditioning, it is so powerful in how we experience our lifetime, but so many people are not even aware that there's a connection point to that. But it literally, we don't have to overcome objectives like competition and different things like that in our life. If we focus on overcoming our conditioning, and by that what I mean is shifting that and getting that into alignment, all the other works outside are done for us. It happens as a result.
How is that first step? Because a lot of people are paralyzed by that first step. It's no different. When you're babies, you take that first step. You don't even think about what the consequences, like I'm going to hit the table or maybe I won't be successful. What is that first step in making that realization that I'm stuck in this paradigm that I'm in?
Yeah, let me ask you a question here. And it's kind of cheating a little bit because I know a little bit about you and what you do. So
That's good.
So I'm stacking the deck in your favor, I guess is what I'm saying. But do you, if we sat down, we had a cup of coffee and I said, what do you want out of life? Would you be able to answer that question?
For the most part, yeah.
I think you could too. Just reading your stuff and everything, I would say, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people I ask, what do you want out of life? And they can't answer that. They can't tell you what it is outside of today's struggles. I want to have enough money to pay my bills this month. I want to have this. But they have no idea what that is. And the reason I ask that question is every single individual, organization, corporation that I work with, we start with developing what I call a dynamic vision, utilizing these road mapping tools that I utilize to do so. Oh, wow. The last corporation that I worked for, they went from a $75 million company. Within 2 years, they were in bankruptcy.
Wow.
And they could not get over that. They couldn't move forward. They couldn't get forward momentum going. And when I started working with them, I helped them right away develop a vision for what that organization looks like back at 75 million. And I knew they knew that. So I went for 100 million. What's this organization look like at $100 million organization? Do you know within a little over 4 months from there, we were able to obtain new ownership. We were able, first off, to retain all of our customers. And that was a feat in itself based on doubling prices, doubling lead times, everything else. But then we were able to get new ownership to come in and dump $12 million back into operations and get things sailing again and growing back up from there.
Oh, wow.
I've had real estate, entrepreneurs come to me, and after 12 years in real estate, just struggling just to make ends meet, losing business from last year and everything else, like her business income going down. And within the time we worked together, she experienced her greatest income year in then 15 years in real estate. And last year, her highest goal ever was $10.5 million in sales in residential real estate, non-luxury real estate. She closed out last year in over $22 million in sales. Those are the kind of results that are possible. And somebody doesn't have to even believe they're possible. Right. When I talk to them, they just have to have an open mind. One of the greatest assets to anybody in their life is what I call a beginner mindset. Mm-hmm. Instead of connecting with everything you already know, or for me, instead of me connecting with everything I already know, is I look at how can I add to my current knowledge base with more information. And that opens the door for me to grow. Without that, I would have when I threw out The Secret and all of that and everything, Rob, I was like done with the whole law of attraction thing. I thought it was BS and garbage and everything else. If I'd have stuck to that and what I know based on my experience, I would have never came back to it and had the realizations and discoveries and be where I'm at today with understanding that the law of attraction works perfect every time. But what's not taught in it so often is it's not taught as a one-size-fit-all, but it isn't, because every single one of us has unique conditioning. So you have to align it with the current conditioning so you can understand what the current is, shift it, and open up for those law of attractions to start working easily in our life.
Whew. That's the way that you said it makes so much sense, because so many people come in at different stages. And I think a lot of people, they may look at your journey and be like, well, you're at the pinnacle. Why would you go back into the valley? What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, I was at the pinnacle as a vice president. For a long time, I trapped myself in going, man, my income is really good. I have a title. I have a company car. I have the perks. And I'm good at what I'm doing. I should love this. And I would try to convince myself. I convinced myself so hard that I ended up with a gambling issue. I ended up with abusing alcohol and things like that, trying to be okay in that area. That area is great. And I got great experiences. I'm blessed, got to travel places. But it wasn't my end goal. It wasn't where I was supposed to be. And when we start developing that vision, to go back to that as a starting point, when we start developing that vision, it can start laying that out. See, one of the problems I learned about me is because of my self-esteem, because I thought I was mediocre and only intended to be mediocre, I would always follow what other people thought I should do, rather than figure out from inside of me what I'm supposed to, what that is, what that pathway is. And once I connected with that is how I've been able to build this last 8 or so years of doing what I'm doing today. It's how I've been able to develop the subconscious mindset training 12-step framework method and employ it into multiple programs to fit different people and things like that. It's how all of this has come to be. Published books has been based on me getting on my path.
That's sorry, writing again. No, I love the way that you stated that. I mean, another great quote that ties exactly what you're saying is, you say, do something for yourself today so you can thank yourself tomorrow. It's really putting that mindset in the factor that you are better than you can be today.
Yes.
And being appreciative of that.
Yeah, it's a step along that pathway to the authentic greatness within. And every single person, if you're breathing, you have that.
Yeah. And you do the mindset training, you have your seminars. What else do you what else? I love the name of your programs, by the way. Life, no pun intended, but they're very aligned with the fire. I love that. Life Ignited program and Business Ignited program, explosive business growth. Tell me a little bit more about your programs and what that delivers to the individuals that are sitting there going, yes, I need this.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things in telling you that, it's really important for me to, I spent a long time going through coaching, and I'm sure you probably have too, going through coaching programs or coaching and then programs or whatever. And it would be trying to get to where somebody else is at. And so they would lay out what they did. And no matter how hard I would try to do those things, I would never achieve what they achieved. That's the reason why Grant Cardone, who's, a billionaire, whatever he is and stuff, and he has these programs, but people never achieve the level he's achieved. And here's why. What he did is identify his pathway to success, his unique pathway to success.
Right.
That his pathway isn't going to work for me, you, anybody else. So what I've done with the SMT, subconscious mindset training, and the different programs, there's the Ignite, which is a self-study program that also comes with coaching call and things like that. There's the Life Ignited, that's to help people kind of open up those avenues to identify those shifts quickly and move into it. And then there's the Business Ignited that's more aligned with helping people to step into their business, grow an existing business. It's the same tools I've helped with companies in bankruptcy. But every one of them, what I feel is unique about what I do is I have no idea what anybody's pathway to success is.
Yeah.
But I'm really good, and I've designed these programs to help them identify that. So I never tell my clients what to do. I have tools they can utilize to start opening up that doorway and that avenue for themselves.
That's beautiful. That is what is needed, because so often we look at people and we're like, oh, I want to aspire to be them, or I want to aspire to be them. And it's like, if everybody took that unique pathway that you're talking about, think of the amount of amazing individuals and amazing things that would be ignited. No pun intended. Actually, it was intended.
And well placed, Rob. Well placed.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You know how it goes. It's all good.
I do, man. I do.
You know what? When you think, I love that unique journey thought. And a lot of people think when they've went through something like you were talking about, when you were in the city, lived in the city of Detroit, and thought that I was going to be mediocre. What is it? What is that feeling, or what is that belief that has to change in their mind that my past does not define my future? How does that kind of transverse into this?
Yeah, I told you I had a problem with alcohol for a number of years and things like that, and I've and that's been 15. It's been 15 years since I've had over 15 years since I've had a drink, and I'll meet with some of the guys and they'll talk about that and stuff, and some of the stories back then, or they'll say, oh yeah, you this, you're that, and I'll say, listen, don't judge me by my past. I don't live there anymore. I'm not. And here's one of the ways of doing that is disconnecting the event from my identity. I'm not somebody who drinks alcohol. I'm not this. I'm not those things. They're things I did. And today, the things I do are different, but they're the things I do. It's not who I am. In other words, I'll work with clients. And when I say clients, like I said, business, the Life Ignited, Business Ignited, when I work with clients, it can be 100% personal transformation. It can be somebody who's retired and just going, now what? Or it can be somebody who's like, a wife or a husband who's just, miserable in the relationship, or finances or things like that. It can be any of those. And the business is more geared towards business aspects. It's more geared towards looking at things in a business sense and things like that. So it's kind of geared for that. But when you look at these things, if I work with somebody who's a smoker, one of the first things I'll do is tell them, quit identifying yourself as a smoker. You smoke. It's what you do. It's not who you are. But what happens is we identify the actions that we've taken, the past failures, successes, whatever, and we associate them to who we are, but it's not. So once we can disconnect that, it starts making it easier then to see the downside of what you're doing, whether it be conditioning or whatever, to shift it. Wow.
That makes so much sense, because so many people, when you said, stop calling yourself a smoker. That's so when, I'm afflicted by PTSD, depression, anxiety from numerous years in the fire service, 9/11, military service. And it's so hard. That was always one of those big things that people would say, I have PTSD, and they'd identify as something lesser than themselves. And I think I love what you said. You have to disassociate yourself from that moment.
Yeah. I'll never refer to myself as a diabetic. That's not who I am. Right. I have an issue with my insulin production from my body, so I get it from elsewhere.
Right. That's a great way of looking at it. I love what you're doing. I love that subconscious mindset training. It's so valuable for individuals to make sure you take advantage of. It has been so great to have you on today, Joey. I appreciate your time.
Such an awesome conversation. Like I said, I really respect you. And thank you for all that you've done for the country, and man, that's just got a special place in my heart, Rob.
I appreciate it, sir. And I always end my podcast the same way. I've got 3 questions for you. Are you ready?
I am as ready as I've ever been.
Hey, I would have expected a little more energy from the subconscious mind. If I'm going to call you Joey ready. The man,
it's freaking go time.
That's better. I like it. All right. So here's the first question. So if you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self just one thing, what would it be?
Man, Your existence is so much more important than what you currently realize. Trust in that.
That can resonate with everybody right now. I love that. And here's the second question. So everybody's dealing with troubles, struggles, challenges. What are 2 things that you would say that they make a daily habit of to continue to move forward in their lives?
Yeah, understanding that the struggle you're experiencing, the only purpose of it is to help guide you to what you do want. Our discontents are only there to allow us to identify what we do want. Without those, we'd all be dead. We have to have that, what we don't want, what we don't like, what we're struggling in. We have to experience that, but only in order to help guide us to what we do want. And then the second one is develop a vision of what that is that you do want. Put your focus on that. Take your focus off your struggle, and your whole entire life will shift for the better.
Words of wisdom from the man. This is words of wisdom. I love this. All right, this last one's always fun because I never know who people are going to pick. So if you had a chance to sit down and have coffee at a firehouse table, and you can ask any question that you want, and they would have to answer it. If you could have coffee with 3 people, they can be deceased or alive, who would those 3 people be and why?
Joseph Murphy, one, because that's really where the subconscious mindset, where it really kicked into high gear for me. Kid Rock would be another one because his arrogance helped me gain confidence in my life and just understanding that life. And the third one, I guess, would be it'd be that Jack Boland that I spoke of.
Oh, okay. I like that. That's a now you obviously, like for Kid Rock, it may not just be coffee, right?
Well, I don't drink, so for me it would be.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like you have the coffee.
You know what's funny is being here in South Carolina, one of my other favorites from Detroit is Bob Seger. And I conversed with him when he came down here for a concert because I offered to rent him a Harley and bring mine and go for a ride for the day while he was in town, but he wasn't able to.
Oh man, that would have been awesome.
That would have been cool.
that would have lit the fire, definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been my honor and my pleasure to have you on today, and definitely would love to have you on again sometime.
Oh, me too. And I'll just tell you, for any of you listeners and things like that, if disconnected at all and you'd like to talk more about it, anybody can go to coachwithjoseph.com and you can schedule a free coaching session with me, no cost to it. We'll spend 45 minutes talking about what's going on, start opening up that pathway, that doorway for you. And then I'll even give you the roadmap to setting up, developing systems of accelerating habits as a part of that call. And there's no cost or obligation or anything to it. Just go to coachwithjoseph.com.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, hey, you have a good rest of your day. You seem like you're already, ignited and ready to go. But I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity. And just God bless everyone.
Awesome. Thanks for listening today. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share this episode with a friend or family. To find out more about Fireman Rob or reach out about a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.